Welcome, mortal souls, to Strange Darkness Radio. Within the echoes of our hosts' haunting voices, terror weaves through the airwaves like a malevolent symphony. I am Benson, your spectral guide, leading you into the uncharted realms of the macabre. Brace yourself for a descent into a paranormal abyss with the host of Strange Darkness Radio as they traverse through tales that linger in the shadows. Spectral apparitions, haunted domains, cryptids, and otherworldly encounters. Embrace the darkness, extinguish the lights, and steel your nerves for a bone-chilling night into the heart of the unknown. It's time for Strange Darkness Radio.
I can feel it coming in the air tonight.
Welcome back to another episode of Strange Darkness Radio. I'm your host, Bobby Washington, along with Amy Tiedemann and Vanessa Scaduto. Ladies, welcome to the show. How are you guys tonight?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Not too shabby.
Welcome. Amazing. Yes. This is our first full episode with Vanessa, so it should be very interesting. And also, we have a very special guest tonight. But Vanessa, I wanted to thank you for doing your Greek series on Hermes, which is now running. And what are your thoughts about it? What's going on? You want to listeners any ideas of any new Greek gods that you plan on doing?
Oh yeah. Let's say she's part of the Crossroads, and if you're a fan of any Greek mythology, you know exactly who I'm talking about. But I'm really excited about it. I actually got personal feedback too. I don't know if you got any feedback, but people are pretty excited about it. I didn't realize how much people were into Greek mythology, so it's going to be cool. I just don't know if they realize I'm also showing them how to invoke them if they want, but we'll see if they reach out about that. So we'll see.
Interesting. Amy, anything new happening?
Well, there's the mystery of, my closet dresser drawer and the very strangely moved clothing items in bizarre directions. I don't remember if we've ever talked about that in an episode, but it's a little bit strange. Yeah. No, I have Vanessa and I have this drawer in my closet, and it's just this one particular drawer. There are clothes I'm very OCD about my clothes and how they're folded. And so every couple of months I get some that are backwards or just facing, they're moved very strangely. And I've asked, people in the house, have you been touching my stuff, going through my drawers? And they all look at me like I'm crazy. They're like, no, nobody's going through your drawers. So it's very strange because the way that it's set up, it's not like it's rubbing against the drawer on top or anything like that. So it's just odd. Bobby thinks it's something weird going on. So,
definitely, especially if no one's in there. Initially I'm like, no, someone rummaging. What do you have in that drawer? There's something that you're hiding and someone's looking for.
No, there's nothing hiding in that drawer. So it's just a very strange drawer to have things moved around all the time. Yeah. But anyhow, so that's the only unusual thing going on with me right now.
Nice. Well, hopefully we'll get down to the bottom of it. I know I did give you an EMF reader, so that way I hear a sound, maybe you can turn it on and see if there's anything, around that area. But all right, let's go ahead and get into our special guest, and Benson will introduce her. Here we go.
Prepare to journey into the unknown as Strange Darkness Radio welcomes the remarkable Dr. Elizabeth Freed, also known as the San Marcos Medium. With over 40 years of success as a best-selling author, award-winning executive coach and management consultant, Dr. Freed has embraced a profound spiritual calling in her rewirement. Her journey into mediumship began with life-changing metaphysical experiences, including an out-of-body awakening and encounters with unconditional love and golden light. Now she delivers healing and empowering messages from departed loved ones and even beloved pets, boasting an amazing accuracy rate. Dr. Freed is also a passionate philanthropist, donating all proceeds from her readings to the Honor Foundation, which aids elite military personnel transitioning to civilian life. Beyond her spiritual work, she's an actor and model, bringing professionalism and versatility to every project she undertakes. Get ready for a fascinating conversation with this dynamic medium, healer, and humanitarian. Please welcome the remarkable Dr. Elizabeth Freed.
Thank you for joining us on tonight's show, Dr. Freed.
It's my pleasure. That's quite an introduction. Sounds like I wrote it myself.
Because you are so amazing, especially the things that you do and all the help and the services that you offer to me are, incredible. Tell us a little bit about, how you got started in mediumship.
Well, I had a couple awakenings. I had an out-of-body experience, rather jolting, that scared the dickens out of me. I wasn't expecting this to happen. And but I didn't do anything about it. It was really unusual. I was, maybe 23, perhaps. And that was a long time ago, over 50 years ago, okay? And I wound up being in bed and couldn't fall asleep. My boyfriend was coming in town and my phone kept ringing and ringing. And in those days, you didn't have answer machines, okay? So I had to answer it. And people kept waking me up. I kept trying to fall asleep. And the last person who called me was my friend Vernon. And he said, I've got to talk to you. I've got to talk to you. Want to come over? I said, Vernon, you can't come over. David's coming in from Minnesota. You can't do it. I got a teacher's meeting tomorrow. I can't do it. You'll keep me up all night talking. I don't have time. I'm so sorry. So I tried to fall asleep. But by this time, after having been awakened many times through many phone calls, I sat there and I was exhausted, but my mind was just going and going. So I had been taking a yoga class and reading this book, Yoga, Youth, and Reincarnation. My yoga teacher talked about going into an alpha state. So I'm sitting there, I'm lying there in bed going, all right, I wonder what this alpha state is all about. And so I start some breathing and I go into this alpha state. And to me, it was like getting a rush from marijuana. That's what it felt like. Marijuana back in those days, which is nothing like it is today. So I said, oh, well, that's kind of interesting. So it's like, all right, so what's next?
Yeah.
So I sat there and I'm lying there twiddling my thumbs. And I said, I read in Yoga, Youth, and Reincarnation, there's something called the universal world. Now, mind you, I was the straightest arrow going, very conventional. It's like when you're dead, you're done. So let the good times roll,
Oh.
If I can't see it, touch it, or feel it, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So I'm lying there and I said, maybe I can key into the universal mind. And I'm kidding myself while I'm saying this. And I'm concentrating on this universal mind. And all of a sudden my head becomes like a Citizens Band radio. I'm hearing these conversations. Two guys are giving a review of a play in New York. It's like I'm on the radio. And it's like, zzz. And I said, okay, I'm turning this radio off. This is too freaky for me. And so I said, okay, so all right, so now what? And I could hear two kids outside my apartment talking. So I was with what was going on, but it was just odd. So I said, okay, maybe I will just imagine energy leaving my body, and I'm pointing to the spot between my eyes, which I did not know was the Ajna Center. And I was just like, I'm going to concentrate on energy leaving my body. And I'm making this up as I'm going along. All of a sudden, I hear this high-pitched air wind in my ear, like of the old Superman movies when he's flying through the air.
Yeah.
Really? And I went, and the next thing I knew, I was out of my body going through a gray tunnel. And I went, holy smokes. I don't know where I'm going. I didn't make a plan here. What if I don't come back? And zoom, back in my body. And I sat there, what in the world?
Wow.
And gosh, and I got really hot. I was afraid to touch my body. I thought I was going to burn my fingers. So I sat there for a few moments and then I said, I wonder if I could do it again. I went through the same process, but this time everything started vibrating. I'm vibrating. My bed's shaking. Everything's moving. And then I'm out again. You fool. You still didn't make a plan. You don't know where you're going. Oh my gosh. And I pulled myself back in. I was so astounded. I got up. I wrote it down. 2:45 a.m. I'm writing everything that just happened to me down because if I don't do it right this minute, I will not believe it's real. So what I did is I wrote it all down, and then my boyfriend came in town. Of course, I told him about it. I was afraid to fall asleep. I thought I would leave my body again. I was terrified. And then he left. Then my friend Vernon called. And I said, oh, Vernon, I got to tell you what happened to me. He goes, oh, I got to tell you what happened to me. So I said, okay. Now, I have to tell you, Vernon's Black. And he said the following to me. He said, I was going into the farmhouse. Those were the hippie days. You know, we all lived in weird places. So he said, I was going into the farmhouse. And he said, I had been drinking, but I wasn't that drunk. I walked into the house, and all of a sudden, this wind rushed through the house. The picture started spinning on the walls. He said, Elizabeth, I'm a black man, but I turned white that night. I said, what time did this happen? He said, at around 2:45 a.m.
Wow.
So I said, I think that was me checking in on you. I think because I never let a friend down and I felt so bad about not being able to spend time with him that I was worried. And that's probably that's where I was headed. But that was such an astounding thing. And then I moved to Minnesota and I got some books to read about it, but you know, I was working and it was just such an odd thing. And I told every living, breathing soul that this happened to me. And these two women in Minnesota, where I was with my boyfriend at the time, they said to me, there is someone who's going to be speaking at the University of Minnesota. His name is Dr. Baker, and he is going to talk about astral projection. Maybe you'd like to go. I said, maybe, no question. So I went, and I listened to him, and he talked about lucid dreaming, that everybody astrally projects, that this was a safe way to do it. Here was the protocol in which to do it, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, I understand that. I didn't do it that way. I wonder if mine was real. And he was taking appointments. And this guy was from England. So I made an appointment with him. And I met him at his hotel. This is a very weird guy. And, you know, I'm in my 20s. I come there. He answers the door in his robe and slippers. And I'm thinking, whoa, well, I mean, all right, hopefully this is a legitimate guy. He was hired by the university to talk. So I'm sitting down. I said, listen, I need to tell you what happened to me. And I need to know if it was real. I need to know if it was real. So he said, okay, tell me. I told him. And he said, you had a real experience, but do not ever do that again. I said, you mean? He said, you did it when you were awake. Awake. That is so dangerous. He said, because if you continue to do that, and one day you're just relaxing and your body just leaves, making you a host for any astral entity, they could take over your body, and then people think you're schizophrenic.
Yeah.
That scared the wits out of me. And the movie The Exorcist had just come out at that time. So I said, that's it, I'm done. And put it to bed. Okay. So now, of course, that is not what is going to happen. I understand that now, but at that time I was terrified. So in my 20s. Fast forward to my 40s, I had 3 miscarriages, and I was feeling sad about it, but it was what it was, and I was dealing with it. And I was sitting in my office just like now. As I'm looking at the computer, I'm looking at you, and I'm on the phone with a client. The client was GE Aircraft Engine. I was a compensation consultant at the time. And I'm talking to her, and I'm saying, yeah, I think 2 o'clock will work, when all of a sudden I noticed the room taking on a golden glow. And I'm going, that's interesting, but I'm on a business call, so I mean, I have to like pay attention to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And the next thing I noticed is this overwhelming sense of unconditional love surround me. I had never felt that in my life. It's like you might look upon a newborn baby. I don't know. I never had a baby, but I'm just imagining this. Okay. And then I felt a gentle squeeze on my shoulder. And I thought, this might be my husband who's walked in the room, which I was not happy about, actually rather annoyed that he would walk in when I was call. We'll say, I'll be with you in a minute. I'm on a call, you know. There was no one there. And I went, whoo! And the lady on the phone said, are you okay? I said, oh yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. There's just nothing. And then I finished my call. The light went back to normal. This feeling of love dissipated. And I just sat back in my chair and said, what in the world was that? I wasn't frightened. And I had yearned for that feeling again for years and hadn't felt it until recently when I was meditating and met with one of my guides and angels, Angeline, which I'll tell you about later.
Oh, wow.
So the thing that was so interesting was I thought, did I have a religious experience? What was this?
Yeah, exactly.
I had a friend who's bona fide psychic, and she was training other people. And she said, Elizabeth, would you come to my training center? My students feel that there's an energy pull somewhere, and I'd like you to tell me, because you're the most practical person and so straight up, such a straight arrow, you know, you'll tell me.
Yeah.
So I went to see her. She had one of her acolytes, one of her trainees say, okay, I'm going to do a protective prayer around you before you go into this energy area, okay? And pray to whoever you believe in for protection, whatever higher power. And I go, Deborah, I'm not really a pray type person. It's kind of, you know, it's not what I do. But I said, all right, so I'm irreverent about this. And I say, okay, God, show me what's real and show me what's bullshit. That was my prayer. So
It's a pretty good one.
Direct and to the point.
It's a pretty good one, though.
So my friend puts her hands over me. She says, you feel anything? I said, no. She puts her hands under me. She said, you feel anything? I said, no. So I left. Now, several weeks later, I have this experience, okay? But I don't know what's happening. So I call my one friend who I know is a born-again Christian, and I said, Candace, have you ever had a religious experience? Because I think I had one. She said, describe it. So I told her, and she said, did you pray recently? I thought, oh, Candace, I don't pray. Wait, you know what? I actually did. She goes, well, I guess he showed you what was real.
Wow.
So I said, isn't that interesting? And then I did nothing about it. That was when I was in my 40s. I'm in my 70s now. Okay. I was working, I had things to do. I mean,
Yeah.
I read, and I might take a few courses at have you ever heard of the Monroe Institute? Have you ever heard of it?
Yes.
It's a wonderful, I took several courses from them and I had some experiences there, but I didn't pursue it. I didn't have time. I was earning a living. I just didn't have time. So now that I was retired, I saw this thing from the Monroe Institute that said, mediumship toolkit. You don't have to have any previous experience. And I'm thinking, what do you mean you don't have to have any previous experience? I thought this is something you're born with. So I find out you don't. I find out that anybody can be a medium. It's a matter of education, meditation, and practice, 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 practice. So I decided to go for it. So I refer to myself as a medium by choice. I'm not a natural born medium. I have to work at it. I'm telling you, it's work for me.
What age was this that you went ahead and took these courses?
2 years ago.
Are you serious?
2 years.
Wow.
Well, you see, I got what I call the equivalent of an MBA in mediumship. I took course after course after course after course.
Yeah.
Practice, 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 practice. Because I said, how much time do I have left? I got to get good at this. Anything I start to tackle, I got to get good at. And if I do this, and I have to know what I'm doing. So I did, and I wound up taking, I think the thing is I took the course at Monroe Institute, which was a week-long retreat. Then I took a circle with this woman for 7 weeks. And then I found the most fabulous person, Suzanne Giesman. Have you ever heard of her, Suzanne Giesman?
No.
Suzanne, this is why I loved her. She's a former naval commander who served in the Pentagon as to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Straightest arrow, just like me, okay? And she retired, and she had a stepdaughter who was serving in the Marines and was deployed. And this young woman was pregnant. She was walking to her duty station, was struck by lightning and killed along with her baby. It was terrible. And Suzanne, who never believed in any of this stuff, ends up getting a visit from her stepdaughter. And this totally opened up her mind to the world of mediumship. She went to see medium. She began to believe and understand that we do not die, that we continue on the other side. And she is remarkable. And she teaches these courses like one would teach a military leadership course. Here's the objectives, here are the takeaways, here are the outcomes, here are the resources, very organized with transcripts and everything. So it just really resonated with me, and she's so sincere. So I took an 8-week course from her, a 10-week course from her. I went on a Mediterranean cruise with her organization for a 14-hour workshop. I just took another 7-week course from her. And now, I'm good, but mediums are always developing. You're always unfolding, and I'm a lifelong learner. So I decided to enroll in the Mediumship Academy through the Shift Network. And I'm in a year-long course and am learning, which I didn't know. I never considered myself as being psychic. They say I am what is known as an evidential medium. And I'll explain that later. But the thing is, they say all mediums are psychic, but not all psychics are medium. So a psychic talks to people who are alive and gets their information from the person that's alive. A medium is able to connect with the spirit world. In both cases, it's soul-to-soul connections, okay? So what happens is, if you're a psychic, your soul is merging with the soul of the person you're reading for. If you're a medium, your soul is merging with the spirit to act as a channel. Now, the training here is saying to us, You really need to be psychic to be a complete medium, so that when you're bringing the spirit forward for the person you're reading for, you understand who they need to connect with and why they need to connect with. Now, the reality is when I read, I tell my client, I never know who's going to come forward. So I have no control over that. The only thing I can guarantee you is that the spirit that's going to come forward is for your greatest good. Mm-hmm. And I am going to present you with 5 to 7 pieces of evidence. I don't want you to tell me anything except you understand this or not. So answer me yes, no, I don't know, I don't remember, maybe, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And I said, I never worry if you give me a no, it's okay, because I just have to dig deeper. So what I'm learning now is the psychic part, and I have to practice with people to see if I can connect with their psychic soul. So I don't know where that's going to lead, because I've been functioning fine as a medium, but hey, if it makes me better, I'm all for it. That's how I look. So
Dr. Freed, I would ask you this too, because I'm also a psychic medium. I should let you know that. So I would usually explain to people with psychics, I would say they need tools. You know what I mean? Where mediumship, we have the ability to pull from energies outside of this dimension or this person sitting in front of us, who's attached to them, whether that's their team, their spirit team, or past souls. I kind of explain it to them that way. And I'm like you, where I have to like practice with the tools, because it's more comfortable for me to read the other entity's energy, I can read people, but somehow like using the tool actually hinders me. But I'm trying to learn how to be able to use my mediumship with the tool at the same time, while using this ability of reading this person, but also engaging with their like past loved ones or even their spirit guides or something.
Well, I don't know understand that. It's challenging for me, because we have to spend the first month practicing and building and learning the psychic part. Okay. And I'm going, I've never been psychic. I don't know. But as I think about it, maybe I just never tapped into an incarnate soul. Okay. And I never thought about it. Now, maybe I was naturally psychic and didn't know it, because my clients will call me the heat-seeking missile. I cut through the bullshit so fast, and they're giving me all the stuff, and I'm listening to it, and I'm going, wait a minute, no. This is the problem. And they go, how did you just distill all that information in just like 3 sentences? You got it. I go, because I listen. I'm thinking, because I'm listening. I'm not thinking that it might be a psychic thing. I just never thought about it like that, but apparently that might be the case. But I appreciate, see, psychics, they're using cards, they're using objects, this is like, to me, is like,
it's a lot. It's a lot.
It would distract me, I think, but before I put the nix on it, I have to try it. I have to see, because the whole business with the cards and all that stuff, I don't need any of that stuff. But maybe it'll make me better. I don't know.
Listen, my mentor, she too is telling me, no, you gotta practice, Vanessa, because she doesn't like using tools either. But she said we all had to go through it. So I feel your pain. It's like one of those things that because I do think everybody has abilities, like you were saying, they have these psychic abilities, whether they want to tune into them or, be aware. I also like the fact that you pointed out that you weren't a person who prays or, talks to, because when I talk to people, I go, that is also a thing that I think most people don't realize actually works, just asking for some sign. Even your sign that says, God, show me the truth, no bullshit, or whatever it was, I think that's it's honestly very good advice. But I'm also a very blunt person. That could be our abilities we've always had. We just never realized.
Just direct. I mean,
right.
Just a direct line there. That's the thing. Now, and the thing I have to say is sometimes, and you as a medium understand that sometimes I got nothing. It happens maybe every 9, 10 times. And when that happens, I say to a client, listen, I'm just not able to make a connection. Nobody's fault. I don't know the reason why. I don't know why what was going on, whether it was the moon, the tides, I didn't get enough sleep, whatever, who knows. But the bottom line is we will reschedule and it'll be fine the next time. So, it's nobody's fault. It just happens. And when you are connected and in the zone, there is nothing like it. You can probably attest to that, Vanessa.
I mean, this is the first time I've like, usually I'll say I'm an intuitive or whatever, but I have abilities where I can speak to loved ones, but it's like, I guess what my mentor is trying to get me to work in is my confidence, because she says you're creating the doubt, which creates other walls that you're, so I'm working through that. And that's just like, I realize the more I practice reading people, and doing it, the more confidence I do build on my abilities, because, I don't sometimes understand how it's done myself. I just can do it. And I've tried to explain to people, because every medium has different abilities or how they function, which I'm sure you can tell us, because I'd love to know what you feel your strong suits are, with the clairs and stuff. Which maybe we could, I don't know if Strange Darkness people the listeners have gone through the clairs.
Dr. Frey can go through the differences between the clairs, or I can.
Happy to do that.
Our audience.
Vanessa, because you talk about wanting to practice, are you familiar with the organization verysoul.com?
I am not. That I was gonna tell you, I use the gateway tapes myself, actually, for meditation, but verysoul.com.
Well, let me tell you what Very Soul is going to do for you, because you need to practice. Okay, this is why I got so good so fast. All right. Okay. Very Soul is a platform that was developed by a woman who's also a medium, but she retired. She was an investment banker and made a lot of money, retired at age 57. She got a download from Spirit that says the world needs to have more trained mediums, and the people need to have the ability to speak to departed loved ones so that they can have closure, they can have whatever they need for healing and empowering messages. She created this platform for mediums to practice with other mediums. It's set up so that you put in your calendar, you put in when your availability is, and if anybody wants to practice with you, they book an appointment with you. It doesn't matter. I have worked with people in Australia and London and Spain. It automatically adjusts the calendar so that your time zone is their time zone. You don't have to go to some Facebook group and say, hey, do you want to do a practice, or, to practice with me? Then you go and you do a DM and you say, well, what time zone are you on? When are you available? You don't have to do any of that.
Oh, that's great.
It is a completely free platform for mediums. It's fantastic. So look into it, verysoul.com. Absolutely.
I will definitely check it out. I mean, we do practice, like I have a group of, that out of Austin that I'm with, and we do practice with each other, but it'd be great to have strangers. I want like cold. Yeah, I want cold calling. I mean, we are kind of strangers, we don't know the ins and outs, but you get kind of people's vibes once, I guess. Well, maybe I do. Once you talk to them after a while, I'm realizing that's just my thing. Once you talk to them after a while. But I would love to like do a cold call, like you're saying, where you don't know anything. And thank you so much though.
Yeah. Everybody in this platform wants to see you be successful. Now, the deal is you do this and you have to give feedback to the other person, and they have to give feedback to you. So this will help you build your confidence, because you said you need to build your confidence. Yeah. This does it, because it's trial by fire, man. Everybody works hard to ensure that you're successful.
Yeah. I mean, I have freaked some of my friends out that didn't realize I had, because only recently I started telling more people in my life that I have this, because I've had it, like it was in my 20s too. I had an out of body experience, but I didn't realize that's what was happening. And I heard my guide. That's when I first heard it. So I find it very interesting. It's a very similar story. And I was probably 23 too, actually, when it occurred. So it was ironic that you said that age. So that's interesting too. But yeah, we would love to know, or personally, I would love to know, I'm sure they would too. But like, what clairs do you feel super comfortable with? What ones maybe you want to work on, or maybe you're all good at all of them? I don't know. That'd be awesome.
All of my clairs. All right.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So
can
have
we let them know
clairvoyance.
about what the clairs are so
Yes,
that way?
there is
Yeah.
clairvoyance. That means I see. Now, there's two kinds of ways to see. There's a way to see objectively, where you see specters and spirits, and there's subjectively, you see it in your mind's eye. I see it in my mind's eye. I do not see people around me. I do not see that. Okay. It's only in my mind's eye. Then there's clairaudient. I hear. I can hear conversations. I will have a conversation with spirit and they will tell me things I hear. Then there is clairsentient. I will get a feeling. Sometimes I'll get a total chill throughout my body when things happen, or I'll feel a pain somewhere, which will tell me how this person may have passed. Okay. And then I have claircognizance. I just know. It's a knowing that it's just, everybody has that. You just know. And then sometimes I get, it's called clairaudience or clairolfaction. Sometimes I can smell. It doesn't happen very often. And then there's, I think it's clairgusta. I can't think of what, can you help me with that one?
Clairgustance.
That I've never been able to taste anything. I don't taste anything. So
I have occasionally, but it's very rare.
What do you taste though? I mean, what does that mean when you're tasting something?
Well, you might taste something salty. You might taste something sour. You might taste something sweet. You know, your mother was a great cook. She made very spicy food.
That happens to me a lot.
Okay.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
that's how we would use that. Okay.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. I can share with you my process when I read. I have a fairly structured process. The first thing I do is I connect with spirit. It takes me a few minutes. I have a process I go through with breathing and connecting and expanding and so forth. There's a specific process I go through. It takes a minute or two. Then sometimes, this happens more often than not, a random image or word comes in that's not connected to anybody. I don't see any person. I might get an image of an elephant. I might get an image of a kite. I might hear the word arbitrage. I mean, and I have no understanding. So what I do is I say, okay, look, I got an image of an elephant. Would you understand that? They may say, I have no idea what you're talking about. I say, okay, well, let's look at that elephant metaphorically. Could mean something very big happened in the spirit's life, or that there was an elephant in the room that nobody wanted to talk about something. Does that mean? Well, it could. Okay, we'll put a pin on it, put it in the parking lot. Now I'll connect with somebody. We'll see if it connects later with the, I remember I read for this guy, was in one of my practice sessions, and I said, I'm just hearing this song. It's wonderful. It's marvelous. It's la da 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 da. I said, do you know that song? Because it's like a Cole Porter song or something like that. He goes, I don't know the song. And he told me later, he said, but it was the total capture of, because we connected with his mother, total capture of her spirit. She was the most positive person, always saw good. This was just the epitome of her. So it could come out that way. All right. So the next thing that happens is I say, okay, I'm going to give you 5 to 7 pieces of evidence. And we're going to go through each one of them. And yes, no, I don't know. Those kinds of answers is what I want. Don't tell me any more than that, because it'll take me out of my creative brain and put me into my left brain. Then I'll start thinking I need to analyze. So you'll do me a disservice if you tell me anymore. So please don't. So we'll go through. It's okay to say no, because, you know, I'll just ask for more information. Once you feel very clear about who it is that I've connected with, I will share a memory that only the two of you know. And then the next thing I will do is and when you verify that memory, that memory actually took place, then I will give you a message from that individual. So I'll give you a couple examples. I connected with this woman and I said, I see a man who passed around the age of 50-ish, and he was tall. He loved the outdoors. He liked playing a guitar. He had a great sense of humor. He had brown hair and was kind of rugged looking. And and he passed suddenly. It feels like a heart attack. Would you understand who that is? She said, yes. I said, would this, and I said, she said, that's my husband. I said, oh, I'm so sorry. And then I said to her for a memory, I said, you like to go camping, but it wasn't tent camping. You had a camper, and this camper was like parked in a grassy area, and then you would build a bonfire or like a fire, and you'd sit around like in like lawn chairs outside of it. Would you understand? Is that a memory that makes sense? She was astounded because she said, we had a camper on our property, and we'd go from the house and go to the camper. She says, there's no way you would know that. I said, okay. So then I give her message, but this came so fast to me. We had time left. And I said, okay, we have some time. Do you have any questions? And she said, well, I'd like to know if there was anything that precipitated my husband's death. I said, are you saying, do you think someone had a hand in his death? And she said, I said, because I don't get that. And she said, well, not exactly. I said, you weren't with him when he died? And she said, no. So I said, okay, what's the issue? She said, well, he was out of town and he was with his stepson. His stepson is mentally ill. So I said, you're asking me if his stepson could have stressed him out to the point of causing this heart attack. Is that your concern? She said, yes, it's always bugged me. So I said, all right, I'll ask. So I asked him. And this is when you hear, okay? And he said, well, darling, he said, no, darling. I said, did he call you darling? And she said, yes. I said, not darling, but darling. She said, yes. He said, no, darling. I was more concerned with what was going to happen to him when he found me. He said, the reality is my ticker just ran out of tox. And I when I told her this, I said, he has a sense of humor, because I have never heard that expression in my life. And I called 4 cardiologists. Have you ever heard the expression, my ticker just ran out of tox? Never. So I know I was talking to him. Okay. Yeah. And she said, oh my God, that sounds just like something he would say. So that's an example of bringing something. And it gave her such peace to know that her stepson really had nothing to do with it. It was just one of those things, So that's how you help people. Another one that I had that was most interesting. There was a woman, you mentioned that I do commercials and print work and acting for actively aging seniors. And I was doing a pro bono work for a film for somebody that had a project, a passion project. And this woman was a real actor that was on the set. I'm just this amateur, right? And she's a really neat lady. She was about 50. She's a Black woman, very attractive. She did a lot of work, but you wouldn't know her because she never had a lead role in anything. She was always one of these sort of behind the back, side actors. I don't know what you call them. So
character actors,
whatever. Yeah. So she found out I was doing this, and she saw me on LinkedIn, and she said, "Oh, I'd love to have a reading." I said, "Okay, sure." So we connect for me to do a reading. And I don't know much about this woman. I just met her and we liked each other and we texted each other every once or twice a year. How you doing? Is everything good? Blah, blah. But nothing really. I knew she had a son. That was it. So I connected and immediately I saw this. I saw a Black man in the jungle, sort of half naked, kind of thing, with a spear. And I thought, I am not going to tell her what I see because it's going to sound racist. I was freaked out when I saw that. So I said,
Or she would have thought it was a distant relative. So
well, I don't know. I just, I said,
I know I would have.
I said, I see a man. He is Black. He is extremely handsome and he's totally ripped. And he has a confidence because I felt my body. This is the clairsentience. I said, he has a confidence about him. It's almost warrior-like. Would you know who I'm talking about? She says, I have no idea what you're talking about. Don't know anybody like that. And I said, okay, well, let me go back. See, this was the no. I got to know, but it didn't put me off. I said, let me go back because I felt so strong about this. I said, he's talking about a panther or something, a Black Panther. And did I tell you that he passed around the age of 50? Did I mention that?
Yeah.
He passed around the age of 50. So she said, oh, I never had anything to do with the political group Black Panthers.
Okay.
Said, no. Kind of answer, like this. And she said, are you talking about Chadwick Boseman, Wakanda, Black Panther? I said, you know what? That is who this man looked like. And
amazing.
she says, oh, I knew Chad. I said, you knew Chad Boseman? She said, yeah. She said, back in the day, we used to go to auditions together all the time before his career blew up with the Fantastic Four and Wakanda. He was a really neat guy. And then he got married. And so I just never saw him again. I can't imagine why he's coming forward.
Yeah.
Well, he has something to tell you that's for your greatest good. We'll find out. But before we do, I am going, and I said, let me see if this is Chad. I go, because I've never brought a celebrity before. So I said, you Chadwick Boseman? And I got the shivers. I said, oh yeah, we got him. So I said, let me ask him to share a memory with you. And I see an image of like a stage set with two actors' chairs, those canvas chairs that the actors sit in. I said, I'm seeing a film set. He's showing me a film set. I never did a film with Chad. I said, negative, okay? I said, okay, let me ask him for another memory. So I said, now he's showing me that the two of you are having lunch in LA, and it's either somewhere outdoors or one of those restaurants where the glass is overhead. It's on the side and the glass is overhead, but you feel like you're outdoors. Would you understand that? She goes, we did have lunch once in LA. I said, great. So then I give her message, and as we're debriefing, she said, he was a really, are you aware of who Chadwick Boseman is?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So she says to me, he was a really stand-up guy, one of the nicest people you could imagine. She said, as a matter of fact, he had asked me to be on a project with him, but I was busy on another assignment. I couldn't do it. We weren't able to coordinate and do it. I said, oh, he asked you to be in a project with him? I said, that memory he showed me of the film set.
Oh, wow.
That was to trigger you to remember he had asked you to do that. So I thought that was really interesting. Okay. So this is kind of how it goes when I do a reading. And it always, let me tell you, every time I do a reading and things like this come out, I don't like to do readings for people that I know because I feel like I'll be biased, but I was visiting with a friend in Chicago, someone I had known since I was 14. And I knew her mother, her sister, her brother, her grandparents. I didn't know her father. Her father had passed before I had known him. Before she and I had met. We met when we were like 14. And I loved her mother. Her mother's name was Bibi. and she had this red hair, and she looked like Lucille Ball. And mother loved me. We just liked each other. Okay. So I said, well, I could read for you. And she goes, well, the honor, she's also a coach for the Honor Foundation where I donate my fees. And she said, I wanted to donate. I said, tell you what, I'll do the reading. You donate to the Honor Foundation. Everybody's happy. So, okay, fine. So I start the reading. And the first thing I feel is her grandmother coming through. I remember her. And I almost started to cry because of the love that this grandma was sending to her. So you get this feeling this can happen, and you try to contain yourself while you're doing it. So I said, let me try, because I think she wanted me to bring her father forward. So I said, I'm going to try to bring your father forward. I'll ask him to come forward. So I was able to do that. And I said, he's telling me that he just adored your mother. Her mother never remarried. She was a very attractive woman, never remarried. And he said, oh, I adored my wife. She was Beebalicious. Again, I wouldn't think of saying something like that.
Yeah.
So I say this, and then and I'm giving more information, blah, blah, blah. And then he says, Cindy was a surprise. I said, he's saying Cindy was a surprise. What's that about? That's the youngest child, okay? And I said, why do you suppose? She said, well, Cindy was born after he died. I said, no, I didn't know that. How would I know that? And she said, I said, think about it. I said, do you think your mother never told him that she was pregnant? And she started counting. She goes, I think my mother may have been 2 or 3 months pregnant when he died. Then she told me that her father had gotten sick 3 or 4 years prior to his death, and her mother was pregnant, and that the doctor said to her, your husband is seriously ill and he's going to die. This was the first illness. They thought he was going to die. You cannot have this third child. You're going to be a single mother with 2 children already. You must have an abortion. Mm-hmm. Her mother did. Then her father didn't die, and he lived. And then she got pregnant again.
Wow.
She had a miscarriage. And he was, she got pregnant again. He had a miscarriage. Okay. A couple years go by. He gets sick again, and he dies. So it's very possible that she never told him she was pregnant.
Yeah.
Okay, after all those experiences. Mm-hmm. But how interesting that he said Cindy was a surprise.
Super cool.
I had no idea of the history behind this, but it was now. This is another thing when I was in Chicago, because I was visiting them in Chicago. This is pets. I had people, I was doing a psychic fair, and I had people say to me, do you do departed pets? I said, well, I never have, but they're sentient beings. I suppose I could, but I cannot say yes to this and charge you, because it'd be like practicing, and I don't know. So I'm just going to pass on this. So then what happens is, this woman who asked me, she wanted to connect with her daughter or something. Her daughter decided she wants the reading. And don't you know that dog came through in the daughter's reading that the mother was concerned about, all right? But I said, was there a dog that, I just see this dog, and I start describing this dog, all right? So I got to think, I said, okay, this is obviously important to people. I should learn how to do this. Let me take a course on animal communication. Should not be another course. I'm going to take another course, and then I'm going to practice. So I took the course.
So that was the catalyst that led to you doing the
right, the animals. Okay. So then I went on Facebook. I said to these people, look, I'm taking this course. I need to practice. Anybody who has a departed pet, let me know. I want to practice for you, no charge. I'm going to just do it. So I had 7 people come, and of the 7, no, I think 8, and of the 8, 7 I was able to connect with. 2 of them that were very interesting. The first one was my friend that I knew when I lived in Ohio. And she said, I'd like you to connect with my border collie, Bella. So I said, okay. So I'm trying to connect, not knowing what I'm doing for sure, and I'm doing it just like it's a person, right? Which is really the way you do it. And I said, Bella was black and white. She said, yes. I said, Bella is showing me a red ribbon and a bell around her neck. Thinking odd for a dog, but I'm just got to call it like I see it. And she said, Bella never had a bell and a ribbon around her neck. I said, all right, that's my no. I'm going to go back. I'm going to say, show me more. I said, I'm getting a ball of yarn or something. She said, oh, you know what? I think you're connected with Bella the cat. I said, are you telling me you got a dog and a cat named Bella? She said, well, Bella died over 50 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay. And at that time I had on like horn rim glasses. I said, Bella was calico. And she said, yes. I said, but you didn't have Bella in Ohio when we lived in Ohio. She said, oh no. I said, let me go ask Bella some questions. So I asked Bella, I said, where did you come into the picture? I said, Bella's talking about New York. She said, Washington, we had her in Washington, D.C., East Coast, I'll take it. I said, okay. So I said, let me ask Bella if she has any messages for you. Then I never say anything that would be unethical or hurtful or whatever. And I just said, Bella is not happy with you.
Mm.
And she said, why? I said, she says you have some nerve giving a dog my name. So I feel it's really
That's hilarious.
This is why I love cats so much.
That's like, I'm not having it. So then I had a colleague of mine who lost her pet donkey. And donkey's name was Winston. This was one of my practice sessions. So I don't know anything about donkeys. To me, a mule, a donkey, they're all brown. I don't know, But so I said, okay, the donkey's brown. No, the donkey isn't brown. So I said, okay, let me go back and see what I could find. And then I said, oh no. I said, I think I'm in my left brain here because I'm seeing this sombrero on the donkey's head with 2 ears coming out of it. The classic, the corny thing you see with donkeys. She goes, oh, I understand that. I said, you do? She said, yeah, I used to dress him up in costumes all the time.
Aww.
So you see, Spirit talks. All right. So then, and this is part of the whole symbol thing that was so interesting to me. So I said, okay, let me see what I can find out. And all of a sudden, now watch my face. Watch what happens. All of a sudden, this happens to me. I said, is something going on with your donkey's mouth or lips or gums or something? And she said, you're in the right place. You want me to tell you? I said, no, don't tell me. This is my job. I'm just getting there. Let me do my thing. So then I said, did your donkey, I'm kidding. I'm sitting there and all of a sudden loud as I can imagine in my head, I hear tobacco. I said, I just got tobacco. Would you understand that? She goes, yes. You want me to tell you? I said, no. Are you telling me your donkey chewed tobacco? No, he did not chew tobacco. I said, I'm stumped. You obviously know what I'm talking about, so you can tell me. She says, my donkey passed of oral cancer.
Oh.
So you know that people who chew tobacco oftentimes get oral cancer. Did Spirit the donkey say to me, I died of oral cancer? No.
Yeah.
But it came to me in symbols like that. And that was very interesting to me. So then I proceeded, I said, now, so once we established that, I said, okay, let me see if Winston has anything else to say. I said, just give me the number 25.
Yeah.
He was 25 when he died. And I said, all of a sudden, the number 5, 25, 5. She said there were 5 donkeys in the herd. So these, and then of course I gave her the message that he was, she was agonizing over euthanizing him, and now she knows he's happy and it was the right thing to do and so forth. And it just gave her a great deal of peace to be able to do that. But that's the kind of thing that happens when I do readings. When they are really working well. I mean, it's just that's it. So you tell me, Bobby, you alluded to the fact that you are a medium also?
No, I am not a medium. I tamp down all medium type skills or things that happen to me. But no, it's so odd because I'll be with someone and I'll say, okay, why am I getting this salty taste in my mouth or a sweet taste? It's just random, and a thought will come, and I'll actually reminisce about childhood situations or things like that. But I do have some type of, I guess I'm going to just call it intuition instead of women's intuition, men's intuition, psychic abilities, or mediumship, however you want to say it. To where if I just push something away and I'm supposed to go and look for whatever it is, I will randomly be missing something particular, and it will put me in place to find what I was supposed to find, even though I wasn't looking for that particular item. So that's happened a lot. And I will say, stop, please stop. I don't want to, deal with whatever that situation is. So I know I've done that, but I call myself a real good people person because I can pick up on how people are feeling or what's going on with them. So I do utilize it to that degree, but I try not to just dabble and go full on. I don't know if it's just creepy for me or spooky, but I push it away. So that's
well, it's if you're going to read somebody psychically, the cardinal rule is you have to ask permission.
Yes.
Yes, I never. It's not really. I don't want to say it's reading. It's just picking up on.
It's surface level.
It's kind of like you were saying with a business deal, to where you get a funny feeling about something, or. And here's the thing: I never ask the person. I never say this is what I'm getting from you, or this is. It's just like, I get the emotion from them, and I probably become more sympathetic to whatever the situation is, or more understanding of whatever the situation is. So it's utilized that way as far as, for me. And so I never clarify that I'm using any type of ability. It's just, I call it intuition.
Well, and that's fair. That's fair. And as long as you're not saying to him, saying to them, well, when you were between the ages of 4 and 7, like this, you did that, you started.
I never going. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I stay upon the surface, and anytime something really gets me going down there and I kind of pick up on stuff like that, I totally push that away, kind of like you did. So, because again, going from 20 and then 40 and then now, I would ask you, like, imagine all the things that have passed in that time frame that, your angels or your, being a medium, you were picking up on, but you were totally just disregarding it,
Absolutely. If I had known what the capabilities here, I would have used it much more effectively, but I didn't. I was just so driven, so focused, so corporate, so
It's interesting that you said that anyone can be trained. Is it to be both a psychic or medium, or is it one or the other?
Well, yes, I think so. I think you can be trained to be a psychic. Now that I'm being trained, I see what they're doing and how they're going about it.
So
And
both
oh,
psychic and medium,
you can be
anyone
trained.
can be trained.
Yes.
It's interesting that you said that, but you had actually had like these metaphysical experiences before you did your training. So I'm kind of curious, like how many people that never have any of these types of experiences just decide that they want to go and, get training. Like, are they successful? Like, do you know of that happening to people where they've never had any of these unusual experiences in their life and they just say, hey, I want to go learn how to do this? Like,
I have a number of people in my classes that have no experience and they have it, they just are interested. Okay. Now, here's the deal. You got to do the work. Right?
Yeah.
Just like you're going through therapy, you got to do the work. I mean, I meditate every day for half an hour and I read and I study and I practice. People don't know. I mean, I'm on LinkedIn. Here I am, an award-winning coach and author, blah, blah, blah. Okay. When I put it out there and said, I wrote an article. I said, I'm going out on a limb like Shirley MacLaine. And this is what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and so forth. I got a variety of responses. You get the eye rollers, okay? Mm-hmm. And you get the people that think like, oh my God, she's a coach and now she's doing this. And you get chastised by people sometimes saying, oh my God, you're discrediting the entire coaching community because you're into this kind of stuff. And I want to say, well, you're giving me an awful lot of power that one person, is going to affect the entire big coaching community. Big deal. Let me do my thing. If you're not interested, goodbye. It's like turn the TV off. So, but I think you have to do the work. It's like, I would love to be 125 pounds. Yeah. Got to do the work if I want to do that. And I haven't been willing to. All right. It all depends on where your focus is. If you do the work, it will happen. It's just doing work.
Yeah.
And, I think for me, having had these experiences, I had this wonderful love experience and yearned for it for years. And I kept saying, oh man, it would be so great to have that again. I didn't know how to get it again. But when I started meditating, when I started asking for my guides, and now you have guides and people that you connect with, Vanessa. Is there an angel that you're aware of? Well, I think there is. Angeline is my mediumship guide. And this woman, when she looks upon me and the way she treats me, I feel like I am so very loved, and nobody makes me feel that way. And it was so refreshing to me to know that, and to be able to recall that feeling, to get that feeling again, and to hopefully be able to give that feeling to others. Because my whole purpose in life is to be of service to others in all things that I've done. And this is just another way for me to be of service. I have invested a lot. I have invested more in my mediumship training than I did in my PhD.
Wow.
Yeah,
amazing.
I would say too, though, and maybe you'll agree with this, though, Dr. Fried, is that there is never enough training in that, because there's so many avenues to go down this path of mediumship. I'm sure you've run into, like you said, you preferred Suzanne's because it fit how you would like to learn, whereas some people may not like it as structured, depending on how because I'm similar to you, though, where I was researching this, though, in my 20s, though, by the way. I was doing it by myself without a mentor, so I had no idea. And yet I was still lucid dreaming and astral projecting and meeting entities and not knowing, so I kind of shut it off myself because I wasn't sure what I was doing. And I had a young daughter and she started seeing stuff. And I didn't know that I didn't know how to protect her. Like I knew what I needed to do, but I know now that's BS. I could have protected us. Like even my mentor's like, I wish you hadn't done that because I was having another awakening. You know, I was having, I would have called it a Kundalini awakening because I did a bunch of yoga and, like you said, meditation is super key. Um, and but I was going to tell you about that experience, though. I would relate that my guides feel like angels. I would say that people don't, people would, if they never experienced their guides, and imagine meeting an angel, that's what it feels like. That love, it's unconditional. And I've experienced that golden light that you're talking about when I was coming back into my body because I was scared because I didn't know. I was hearing that noise, that pressure of us, and I didn't know what was happening. I felt like something was holding me down, but really I was just consciously awake that my body was like trying to get back in, and I heard one of my guide's voice, and I just heard him go force, and he sounds like Barry White. He sounds like Barry White.
Ooh,
Yeah,
wow.
I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah, my guide is definitely a black dude. He's like he sounds like Barry White, and he just kept saying force, and then I realized, oh, I'm supposed to force myself. Like then I envisioned the golden light as well. That's what I did. I envisioned myself in it. And I pushed myself into my body. And you would think, you know, I wasn't understanding though that all of that in the moment. And you would think that I'd be scared or whatever. But because of that warm light, that feeling of love, I fell right back to sleep. Like nothing ever happened. Like nothing was holding me down. Because at the time I didn't realize it was my body going in. It was like I had to, you know, think about it for a while. Like you said, every time you have a moment, you go, wow, did that just happen? Did I really just get that message correctly and communicate it? Like there's I would say it is a profound thing once you help somebody that you didn't even know they needed the help, you know, like you send them a message that you didn't even know what this means really, you're just going to say it. Because I get that too, Dr. Fried, where I just get random sayings. Like one time I just out of nowhere told my friend who's named Jack, I just said, good job, Jackie. Nobody calls him Jackie, but it turns out like that's a saying his mom says to him. He's like, she's English too, so she has an accent. So I did it in that cadence.
Wow.
Two weird things where I'll pick up like this rhythm on people. It's a rhythm though, like, so it's auditory kind of thing where I can know that somebody's a nickname or this or that, like that's, but it's a loving thing. It's never like a negative thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll pick up on that stuff. Yeah. It's very weird. It's a random thing I have that I can hear what they're called, like a nickname or like a saying, or like you said, songs sometimes will pop up like a beat or something, and I'll just know. So it's very interesting. Now the animal stuff, I'm still practicing.
Well, I'm still. There's one more animal.
I think it's so cool. Yeah, I want to hear more about this animal.
Well, I've not really dealt with
Wait,
a lot.
before you go into it, Dr. Fried, I just have to say before the audience, you know, when they see this, they're going to say, "What is going on in your background?" Because your light.
Oh, the light, yeah.
On. And I just want to make sure it's not paranormal and let you explain that because people will say, okay.
I have a light that goes into my garage, and then when it's a sensor light. Okay,
yes.
It's a sensor light.
I figured as much.
So
clarify that.
On if I'm black, turning around, and sometimes my alarm system is next to it. When the alarm system lights up, it affects the sensor light and it comes down. Then the alarm system dims, the sensor light goes up. I was wondering, why was this happening? Because I wasn't walking past the door. Yeah. But getting back to the situation in Chicago with my friend with the Cindy story, okay? And we go over to her daughter's house, who lives near Northwestern, and she's got this big cat. The cat's name is Mo or something like that. And it's a big black cat. And I had taken this course, and they had given us certain directions about how you dealt with live animals if you're going to talk to them and communicate with them. So I thought I would try and just start. I mean, no one knew what I was doing. I was just fooling around, you know. So I started talking, and he's being very friendly and very nice. And Mo has a brother named Patches, who is kind of shy and not in the room. Mo decides, after checking me out, that he now wants to jump on my lap. But he's got claws, and he goes into my thighs. And I'm going, yeah, you know? And And his owner, my friend's daughter, said, "Oh, I'm sorry." I said, "Well, he didn't mean it. He needed some leverage. I'm used to a cat just jumping and getting there, not using the claws." There goes that light again, see? So then I said, "It's okay, Mo, it's all right." So then he's now up on the counter, and I'm doing the thing that they tell you to do. You're such a beautiful cat. You're such a good boy. Blah, blah, you know, I'm giving him all these compliments, right? And his back is to me. So I'm petting the back of his neck. And when a cat presents their hindquarters to you, that's a sign of trust. Okay. So I said, "You're such a beautiful boy." And then all of a sudden he goes like this. Makes this face at me. I go, "Mo, is there something you want to tell me?" And he tells me something. And I turned to my friend's daughter and I said, "Mo just said his brother steals his food." And the daughter goes like this. "We have been dealing with this problem for the past 3 months." And she tells me the whole history of how the other cat takes the food, they have to put it in a special place, blah, 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 blah. I was blown away because this was all new to me to be able to get such a random thing from this cat. But the look he gave me, like, I need to tell you something.
Wow. So you hear like actual words when you get information from animals, or it's not just visions, it's actual words? That's amazing.
Well, in this case, I heard actual words from Bella, who said, "You have a lot of nerve," you know.
Yeah.
I did. Now, from the donkey, he didn't give me any words.
Yeah.
He just gave me symbols.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So it varies, you know.
Yeah.
I never know what is going to happen. It's always developing. You're always developing as a medium. It's just fascinating how it works. It's just fascinating. And I have to, and we talk about confidence. One of the things that you have to do is you have to believe you're a medium and believe that you can connect. If you don't believe that, it's not going to happen. That's the other part. Because many times you're doing this, you're hearing stuff, things are happening, you're going, "Am I making this up? Or is this really happening?" And when you get the verification, and somebody says yes, and you get it verified, and there are things like, you know, "My ticker ran out of tack." I could make that up. "Be malicious." I could make that up.
Yeah.
It's not part of my vocabulary or even my knowledge for me to say that. Here was one that was really interesting. I was practicing with a medium in London using Verisol. And this was, maybe 9 months ago, almost a year ago, actually. And I connected with her father or her uncle or somebody, I don't exactly recall. And what happened was I'd gotten a message, and then she was in London. And all of a sudden I said, "I'm getting this image and these words," and he's going, "Busha, busha." I've never heard that word. Have you ever heard the word busha? I said, "Would you understand that?" She goes, "Well, even though I'm in London, I need to tell you that I'm originally from Poland, and in Polish that means kisses."
Oh, wow.
So you see, I heard it and I saw it and I had to say it. I mean, because it seemed so crazy to me at the time, but it absolutely, I was blown away when she answered me like that. So that's how it works. Now, Amy, what's your background?
Well, I don't have any of these gifts that you and Vanessa possess, but I'm definitely fascinated by them. I would love to develop my skills and learn about that. But, you know, it's funny to me that when you say you have to believe that it's going to happen, because, you know, just talking to Vanessa even the other day about how do you get your spirit guides to show themselves to you. And so, I've been trying to do more meditation. I've been asking, can you show yourself, give me a sign that you're here, and there's like nothing. So I'm like, am I ever going to get that experience? And is there some part of me that maybe just doesn't believe? But I want that,
Amy, are you asking them specific things though? Like, be specific. Ask for
Very specific.
specific,
Oh,
very,
maybe.
very
Oh,
specific,
okay.
so that it's not, you don't dismiss it. Because unfortunately,
Yeah.
they do reach out
Oh,
to us, and a lot of times people don't realize it's them.
that makes
And,
sense. Like maybe they're showing something and you're just not thinking that it's them showing something. Is
That's
is
why the
that
so
what
clothes
you
are moving
mean?
in your
I
drawer.
also can recommend to you, there are specific meditation tapes that you can get from the Monroe Institute by
Mhm.
Suzanne Giesman, where she talks about meeting your spirit guides, how to connect with your spirit team, and she teaches you that in her guided meditation. So that might
Okay.
help you to do that. Um, and I have, in terms of my guides, I got, when I went to a Monroe Institute Gateway course 10, 12 years ago, I got 3 guides. They're still around. And then I picked up, since Suzanne, I have picked up 4 more guides, 5, 6, 7. And with your Greek mythology, who shows up for me as one of my protectors, actually? Not only a dragon is on my team, but also Athena.
So one of my guides appears as Hermes. So he is, I was told that's part of the reason why I said I revere him, because there's a lot of similarities, and also a past life of mine. I think my guide is from a past life of mine and when I was in Greece. So and I just had a soul retrieval. That fragment of me was just pulled in recently.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of all of that starting, and I had a recent experience. I mean, we could always show Dr. Freed this video I have actually of this orb and light that appeared to me, and I believe it was Palladian. So I think they were just giving me a little little knowledge, a little head nod, because my group, we also contact those guys too. So which a lot of people don't believe, but that's okay. I have video evidence that they exist. So it's kind of like, I don't know how you can, I get when it's not tangible, but when it's like tangible on a dash cam that you weren't even like expecting, but I was told that I would get a sign, and then I didn't think it would be that big. But I'm also being told I'm supposed to share it with people. So that is part of it. So it's me also learning what my abilities are, and I'm realizing I probably have all of them. I've just been hiding from them. So
Possible, it's a matter of practice and continuing. The aspect of broadening your practice group beyond the circle you're working with, I think is important for you.
100%.
Yeah. And for you, Amy, I would say look at the Shift Network and some of the teachers. Are you familiar with the Shift Network?
No.
Shift, I think it's theshiftnetwork.com. Look it up. It's the Shift Network. They have fantastic courses. They're very reasonably priced, and they also offer scholarships. So where you'll get a partial discount as a scholarship. They do very first class programs, really good. So
Okay.
I would
Yeah.
encourage you to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I would love to look into that, because I'm very envious of people that are able to do, what you and Vanessa are able to do, and communicate with others. And especially, the thing with that's what I was really drawn to your biography, is just that you're able to communicate with pets that have passed on. I think that's amazing and fascinating. So I think that's actually refreshing to hear that anyone, if you put the time, energy, into this, that maybe it's possible you'll be able to do some of these things as well. Hopefully.
Well, a lot of, excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt. A lot of people go into this not because they want to be a medium themselves, but because they lost a son, daughter,
Yeah.
want to be able to connect with that departed loved one
Yeah.
on a regular basis. So they don't have a broader goal, they just have a personal goal.
Yeah.
And so that, and they're able to, and this is why many of these people take the course, so that they can have a personal connection that they want. So how long are we supposed to go on this, by the way?
You can,
No,
as
we
long
can- we
as you
can
want to
start-
keep telling us stories, really.
I'm just listening. It's so amazing, because in my mind, I'm like, I can't wait for the book. Like, being a very successful book author, are you going to do a book on mediumship?
No, I'm not. I wrote my books for 30 years ago, and Suzanne Giesman does an excellent job writing books. And then you have the Long Island Medium, and then you have the woman that wrote. There's a lot of good books out there. I don't need to add to that particular thing.
Well, I think it would be fascinating. Your story,
I just, yeah.
or you to even narrate the book, I would be captivated. So
Well, it's they just do. I have to keep up with my reading is always challenging. I do a lot of audiobooks, so yeah. But I really appreciate your inviting me. And if anyone wants to get in touch with me as a result of wanting to have a reading, you can reach me at ElizabethFried.com. That's Elizabeth with a Z, and Fried is FRIED.com, and then /medium. And you'll be able to arrange for a reading that way. And I just want to remind you that all my fees get donated to the Honor Foundation. So,
yes.
Which is really amazing. That's really, really awesome.
Well, Dr. Elizabeth, thank you. Dr. Fried, thank you so much for joining us on this episode and sharing your stories and your mediumship with everyone out there. And yes, definitely go and check her out. Please get a reading done. She's amazing, as you can hear. And I hear a lot from a lot of different people about psychics, to where I'm not sure how I felt about that. Did they already know? Was I giving them the information, or were they really pulling it from me? And from everything you describe on how you get that information is just remarkable.
Yeah, I don't want to know anything about the person.
Yeah.
Yeah.